Hello there, my name is Destiny and welcome back to another tutorial. So in this one, we're going to be extending the custom user model. And by extending the custom user model, what we're trying to say is this: we're not going to be using the user model that Django gave us, but rather we're going to be creating our own custom user model. And one of the main reasons why we want to do this is because we'd want to use email addresses to log in, and we'd also want to verify users when we start working with the main back-end logic, and we want to do a whole lot of things. So that's one of the reasons why we want to do this right now, and it's highly recommended even by Django officials that it's advisable that you extend the custom user model before starting any project, because you don't know how large that project is going to get. And if you've built your project halfway and you want to automatically start extending Django user model, a custom one, you might run into some issues that might take you some time to fix. Okay, and I've actually experienced that before, so I'd highly recommend any project that you are starting, just extend the custom user model. It's really easy, it doesn't take any time, and we're going to go ahead and spin that up right now. So let's go ahead and get started. So from the last video, we worked on this where we log in using the username and password. Now in this one, we simply want to get over here and we want to create a new app now. So this new app is simply the one that's going to be helping us do things with user authentication and all that. So I'm simply going to say Python manage.py. We've got that before. Python manage.py start up, and I'm going to call this one user auths, okay, which is called user authentications. And in this user authentications, we're going to be creating a whole lot of cool things. We're going to be creating things like profile. We're going to be creating just a whole lot of things, signals and all that. But firstly, we want to go ahead and extend the custom user model. So I'm going to close this up because right now everything is looking really big. I don't want to mess this environment up, and I also want to collapse this, and I want to close up some of these tabs so we have a more cleaner space to work with. Close this up too, close this up. So open up the user auth, open up models.py. So if you've been following along, then you must have gotten the section where I say that we use Django models to create database tables and all that. So that's what we're going to be doing now. So firstly, I want to import a very simple library, and to import it is quite simple. We just need to say from django.contrib, and I think it's from django.contrib.auth. I don't want to make a mistake with that. .models. We want to import, I think it's called abstract user. Hopefully that's it. And abstract user. Now we want to go ahead and create a new class, and we're going to call this one user. And in this user, that's where we want to go ahead and pass in this abstract user. So I'd highly recommend you call this user. Okay, so you stick with convention and pass in abstract user. So this abstract user is simply what's going to help us extend the custom user model. So now we want to pass in a couple things. Now we want to go ahead and pass in an email field, and this email field, we're simply going to say models.email field. So I actually don't want to do this now because I highly want to intensively explain what all this models.email field does to you guys before we go ahead and start out all this, but I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. So this over here is called email. Now you could call this whatever you want. So I always like saying you could call this whatever you want, because when I was starting out in Django, I actually don't know which is the word or the keyword that I can call whatever I want, and which is the one that you can call whatever you want. Okay, so this is it. You see this one over here, you could call it whatever you want. You see this one in here, you don't call it whatever you want, you actually give it this over here. You see this models, no, you don't call it whatever you want. This models over here is simply this one here. Now this email field, you can call it whatever you want, or you're gonna get an error. This email field is simply I think it's simply a function. Yeah, okay, so you don't call it whatever you want. Now if we come over to this, okay, right now we don't have all that loading. I'm just going to show you guys that in the other videos. So I'm simply going to get back to where we were. Now this email field is simply coming from django.db. okay, so as you can see, we've got django.db.models. Now we can even do something like this. We could say from django.db, and we can even do .models import email field, just like this. And if we want over here, we could just get rid of these models, and everything is still going to work perfectly well. Okay, but just because we've got a whole lot of functions over there in the model, in the django.db models, that's pretty much why we are not importing it. Okay, so in this email field, you could choose to leave it null, or you could choose to make it unique. So I'm going to make it unique. I'm going to say unique should be equal to true, and I'm also going to say null should be equal to true. So what does unique equal to true mean? Now, if a user creates an account with deskfix@gmail.com, we don't want another user to create another account with the same email, deskfix@gmail.com. Alternatively, they're going to create an account with deskfix1@gmail.com. Okay, so we don't want them to create an account with the same email if that email already exists in the database. And null equal to true means that we could either not pass in this email. You understand? So in a field where the email is there, let's say you're trying to log in a user and there's email, there's username, there's that, null equal to true simply means, okay, if you don't want to pass in the email, it's fine, you cannot pass it in. Okay, but I'm simply passing in this null is equal to true just because of what's an error that I have encountered in my previous project while trying to create super user alongside email. Okay, so after this, the next thing that we're going to pass in is username. So this username is simply going to be models.char field. So char field pretty much takes in title characters. So this is pretty much character field. And what does that mean? So in a blog post, there is 3 sections. There is the first section, which is the header, which might be something like we will just say something like trending, something like top 20 text in 2022. Right now, there is another one which might be the description, which might be something like this is the top trending tech gadgets in 2022. Then another one might be something like let's say date, this post was made 2022 August 7th, which is my birthday. And down this over here is the character field. This is what I call the kind of text that gets stored in text field, because they are usually long, right? And this one over here is the kind of data that gets stored in the data type field called date time, right? So that's it. Now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Hopefully you understood my little explanation. I don't want to explain this here right now. I have a separate video where I want to explain all this for you guys so you don't get confused. So in this char field, we want to go ahead and pass in the max underscore length. So by default, all Django char field takes in a max length, and max length is pretty much how many characters you want to see in the text. So if we pass in 5 over here, now if this user try putting in my name, it's going to be done. It's not even going to get up to this, because if you count this now, there is 1, there is 2, there is 3, 4, and 5. So there is not even going to be an M. Okay, so that now from here to here is 5. That's pretty much what we want to do. So you limit how many characters you want users to pass in, but for us now, the max number that we need is 1000. Okay, so users, one of our user might be trying to go nuts to add a username as long as 1000, and we don't want to allow that. Another reason why we don't allow really long character field is because users might actually try to do some malicious thing from the input fields, and the more space you give them, the more opportunity or the more free hand that they're gonna have to type more code in the input field. Okay, so do make sure to be careful. Now I'm gonna simply say okay, I'm just gonna remove the comments. Now that's pretty much what I want to pass in. Now there is something else I want to do. Now I want the username field. So you know the username field from over here is username, but this time around I don't want it to be this username again. I want it to be email. So I simply want to pass in username underscore field, just like this. And over here, what do you think I'm going to pass in? I'm going to pass in email, which is this one that we created. And also there is one more thing that we'll be needing required underscore fields. So if you don't pass in this required fields while trying to create super user, bro, you're going to get an error. So make sure you pass in that, and you want to pass in the username, because by default, if you just pass in the username field and email, and let's come over here and let's just try running let's just try creating a super user. You see now it asks for the username, and it's asking for this username just because we haven't even made migration. So I'm just going to cancel that, but make sure you pass this in over here, and make sure you pass in username. That's if you don't want to get any error. Now we want to go ahead and pass in $str, and this is pretty much a function that will define. We called it underscore str, and we want to simply go ahead and return. We're just gonna say return self dot username, just like that. And I don't want you to think much about what this line of code does over here, because I'm going to be explaining it in the future video. But I'm simply going to return self.username, and when we run our database or when we run our server, I'm going to show you guys why I am doing this particular thing over here. And now I'm simply going to get back here, and I'm going to say python manage.py. I'm going to say make migrations. So why are we making migrations? Now whenever you do something in your models.py, take note, models.py, you want to make migrations. Okay, so whenever you alter your models.py file, you want to make migrations. So what is this giving? It's saying no changes detected. Now what is the problem? Okay, we could go ahead and say python manage.py migrate, and as you can see, it says no migration supplied. So this is a really good issue, and it might take you days or even weeks to debug this. That's if anyone will come to your rescue. And this is pretty much showing up because we don't have the user auth installed in our settings.py. So in our settings.py, all the way up, what we simply want to do is come over here, and we want to pass in user auth. So I'm going to say user auth, just like this. Now when we try running the make migration again, you're going to see it's gave an error. Actually, it says auth user group clashes with blah 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 blah. Hint, add a related name to the definition. Okay, I think there is an error over here, so let's see what the problem is. It says auth.user.groups clash with auth.user.groups. Now I want to make sure that in my settings.py I don't have okay, actually I don't have it. So let's take a close look at this error and see what's going on. So it says hint, add or change a related name to the definition for user.auth.user permission or user.auth.user permission. Okay, so this is pretty much what I want to do. I'm going to get to the top, okay, rather in the models, and in this username over here, I simply want to pass in a related name, and I'm simply going to call this one user. And I also want to get back here, and I'm going to copy this. Hopefully this fixes our error, and I'm going to paste it here. But this one is going to be email. Actually this one is going to be email. Let's say email user, and let's say user username. So with this, now I'm going to go ahead and make migrations again, and you say this got an unexpected keyword argument related names. I think it's supposed to be related name. Let's see, make migration. Okay, we are still getting the same error, and I think this error is going to be because we are not adding one field, and this field is supposed to be auth underscore user underscore model. Now we simply want to get into the user auth folder by saying user auth, and we want to call the class, which is dot user. So after doing this, now we need to say python manage.py make migration, and I think now we got an issue. Okay, we got a problem now. So it says admin 001 initial is applied before its dependency. This, now what I simply want to do is this. I'm gonna get to the top. I want to comment out this django.contrib.admin thing, and I'm simply gonna come over here again. I'm gonna say python manage.py make migrations, and as you can see, it cannot look up admin. I'm gonna put in the migrate, and as you can see, it keeps saying that it cannot look up admin. So what I want to do is this. I'm simply gonna get back to the models, and let's just say that I want to get rid of one of those. I'm gonna get rid of one of those, and I'm gonna comment this out. While coming over here, I'm gonna uncomment this, get back to the models. I'm gonna leave that way. And when I say python manage.py migrate, as you can see, it gave this error over here. Now if I simply say if I come over here to the settings.py, and I'm gonna add in the comments that I removed. So you remember I uncommented this out. I'm simply gonna get it back, and I run python manage.py make migration. It gave this error. So how about if I say python manage.py migrate? The best way to fix this error is this. We are simply gonna comment out I'm gonna get to the top. I'm just gonna get to the top and I'm gonna comment out this contrib admin thing. And after commenting that out, I'm gonna come over to the urls.py. I'm also gonna comment this one out. Okay, so when you've commented this two out, then you can go ahead and run your python manage.py migrate again. And this time around, as you can see, it went ahead and did the migrations. And that's it's let us run make migrations. And as you all know, you're supposed to run make migrations before running migrate. And as you can see now, everything is looking good. So we can go ahead and run server again. And right now it says model doesn't declare an explicit app in the installed. Okay, that's because we commented that out. Now you want to get back here and you want to uncomment those things that you commented out. And if you run the python manage.py, run server again, and what do you notice now? Our server is running perfectly well. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to open the admin section and I'm simply going to log in now. Okay, so right now it says please use the correct email and password for a staff account, and that's because we haven't actually created a super user with the new email functionality for login. So I'm simply gonna say python manage.py create super user, just like this, and the email is desfix@gmail.com. so desfix@gmail.com, and the username I'm simply going to pass in Destiny. For the password, as usual, I'm going to pass in testing321, and I'm also going to pass in testing321 for the password. And that's it. We simply want to go ahead and run the server again, and as you can see, that's running now. So I'm going to minimize this, come over here, and let's refresh. I'm simply going to hit continue, and as you can see, it's going to go ahead and log me into the admin. So that's pretty much what I want to do. But as you can see over here, the user model isn't showing up. So in order to make the user model show up, you simply want to open up the user auth admin, and you want to import a couple of things. So firstly, I'm going to say from I think it's user auth. So from user auth.models, we simply want to import, and that is, I think it's the user. Okay, now over here, what we simply want to do is go ahead and install the user. So we're going to say admin.site.register, and we're simply going to pass in the user. So if we come over here now and refresh, as you can see now, we've got the user. Okay, so that's pretty much what I want to do. If you open up the user, you can see that we've got the user over here, and yeah, that's going to be it. So one more thing that I want to show you guys is this. So let's say you've got this really huge application, and to some extent you want to actually export all your users and you want to save it on your local PC, and you know, by default, you're going to go ahead and write a custom view that's going to help you export all the users. Or let's say it's even a newsletter and email address, you want to export it into a CSV file or a JSON file. Now, the best way to achieve that from the Django admin is to use a package called import export. So the first thing you'd want to do is go ahead and install that package using pip install Django import export. And when it's successfully installed, now the next thing you want to do is come over to your settings.py, and you'd want to install it over here. So we can simply say import export just like this, and it's going to be installed. And that's it. So the next thing that I'm just going to get down here, and I want to create another hashtag, and this one is going to be third-party apps. So I'm going to say third-party apps just like this, and we pass in import export. Okay, so for now I'm just going to comment this out, and I'm simply going to come over to the admin, and we want to import export. Okay, so I'm going to say from import export.admin, I simply want to import export model admin, just like this. So after importing this, that's pretty much it. The next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and create a class, and we're going to call this one user. So we simply want to inherit from the import export model admin, and down here you could just pass in there, and that's just what I want to do. Then over here alongside the user, I'm going to pass in the user admin, which is what I was supposed to create over here. Okay, so with all this being done now, make sure that your server is still running. As you can see, my server isn't running again, so I'm going to run my server down here, and let's give it a sec. As you can see, it's running now, so I'm going to come over here and refresh. Now what do you notice? I've got imports and I've got exports, so we can simply go ahead and export all our users. Okay, it says this must be registered. That means in the settings.py, let's put this over here. Is not a registered tag library, blah blah blah. So after putting that in, I'm going to come over here and refresh. So we need to export this as CSV, JSON, YML, whatever you want to install, export it as. Now it's going to open this up in your Excel, or if you're exporting it as a JSON file, it's going to open it up in your browser or wherever you're exporting. So now what you notice, as you can see, it's exported it exported the password, the last login, the username, as you can see, the email. So let's say you've got thousands, tens of thousands of users, and you don't want to lose any of them. You just want to keep them on your local PC, so you can go ahead and do this. So that's pretty much what I want to show you guys here. And let's see from the steps, what else are we supposed to do? I think that's pretty much going to be it for this video. We've successfully configured Jasmine, we've created super user, and we also in this video worked with the custom user model. So now we could go ahead and log in with email. So in order to verify that, I'm simply going to log out and I'm going to log in again. And as you can see, I now log in with my email address and password is testing321. Then I successfully log in. So that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and learned something new. And in the next video, we're going to go ahead and start working with creating a video model. So from the next video, things should start getting really interesting and more fun. Okay, so I hope to see you there. Do make sure to check out my YouTube channel, consider dropping a like and also subscribing, as it will really mean the world to me. And in the meantime, mad love, peace out.